And you need to like, so all I want is cheesy hash browns and blueberry that's
oh, no.
Why are you taking this here? They want to
So when everybody goes for it,
Well, they are they're the good
we share it. What's kindergarten or not shared it?
Good night, everyone. I'm going to ask everybody to come in the main room and take a seat, please, whoever is outside. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most benevolent. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you and shalom. Allah forbids you not from respecting those who have not fought against you on account of your religion and who have not driven you out of your homes, that you be kind to them and deal fairly with them. Surely God loves those who are fair. Surah Al-Mumtahana, the trial. Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law? Jesus replied, love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment, and the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. Leviticus 19:17. We welcome you to this wonderful interfaith iftar and discussion. Today, we all come together and as one family under one God to spread one message, the message of love and unity. First, we want to welcome our brother Amin Al-Habbas. Amin, he is going to recite for us the Holy Quran. Amin is a young professional working as an engineer in Connecticut. He earned his bachelor in industrial engineering in Western Mass in February 2017. While in college, he has been involved and participated in different clubs, from engineering and science to cultural and interfaith spiritual life clubs. Amin now continues his journey by being more involved throughout volunteering opportunities in the local community. Currently, he serves as the Arabic teacher at the Jafariya Sunday School. So we welcome our brother Amin.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون أياما معدودات فمن كان منكم مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر وعلى الذين يطيقونه فدية طعام مسكين فمن تطوع خيرا فهو خير له وأن تصوموا خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان فمن شهد منكم الشهر فليصم ومن كان مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر ولتكملوا العدة ولتكبروا الله على ما هداكم ولعلكم تشكرون آمنا بالله صدق الله العلي العظيم
We thank our brother Amin, and after him, our sister Samna Rani is going to give us the translation of the verse he just had read. She's a member of the Jafariya's Youth Committee. She has a bachelor's in marketing with a concentration on professional sales from the University of Connecticut, and she's currently a marketing manager at Gardner Incorporated.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. In the name of God, most gracious, most compassionate. O you who believe, fasting is prescribed for you as it was prescribed for those before you, so that you may guard against evil. For a certain number of days, but whoever amongst you is sick or on a journey, then he shall fast a like number of other days. And those who are not able to do it may effect a redemption by feeding a poor man, so that whoever does good spontaneously, it is better for him, and that you fast is better for you if you know. The month of Ramadan is that in which the Quran was revealed, a guidance to men and clear proofs of the guidance and the distinction. Therefore, whoever of you is present in the month, he shall fast therein, and whoever is sick or upon a journey, then he shall fast a like number of other days. Allah desires ease for you, and He does not desire for you difficulty. And He desires that you should complete the number, and that you shall exalt the greatness of Allah for His having guided you, and that you may give thanks.
For our guest, I forgot to tell you in the beginning, you will hear us saying continuously, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, which means, oh Allah bless Muhammad and the family of Muhammad. After, we will have our sister Narjis Rizvi. She's a member of the Interfaith Committee. Narjis Rizvi was born and raised in Connecticut and has been a member of Jafariya Association of Connecticut since its inception. She attended University of St. Joseph in West Hartford, Connecticut, Georgetown University, and King's College, London, while attaining her Bachelor of Arts in Psychology with a double minor in Political Science and English Literature in 2006. And a Master of Science in Management Strategy with a certification of Homeland Security in 2009. She has since worked in compliance and regulations for several multinational firms and banks, and currently works in Stamford, Connecticut, while also adjuncting at the University of St. Joseph as a professor. She teaches statistics and research methods of psychology, as well as two separate sections of psychology of women, one from a South Asian woman's perspective and the other from a Muslim woman's perspective, while passionately volunteering her spare time to intersectional feminist causes.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I begin in the name of Allah, the most compassionate and the most merciful. My dear brothers and sisters of all faiths, a very warm welcome and wishes of peace and blessings to you and yours during the holy month of Ramadan and beyond. Assalamu alaikum. We are honored to welcome you, our neighbors, to the second annual Interfaith Event and discussion during this auspicious time. The noted theologian Hans Kung once said, "There will be no peace amongst the nations without peace amongst the religions, and no peace among the religions without dialogue among the religions. And there will be no serious dialogue among the religions without common ethical standards." Before sharing my views on interfaith dialogue with you, let me thank all of those who have worked so hard to make this event successful. My fellow Interfaith Committee members, Sister Lubna Rizvi and Sister Maria, the Jafria Islamic Sunday School Committee and the children of the Sunday School, the Youth Committee, and the Tabarak Committee. I know that many have put a lot of time and energy into preparing for this event, and I'd like to express my personal appreciation for their joint efforts. Brothers and sisters, our age is defined by increasing globalization, migration, and diversity. Globalization brings interdependence, but at the same time makes us more aware of our differences. These tend to make people feel insecure and uneasy with each other. People worry about losing their identity. This is understandable. People cannot be categorized exclusively on the basis of their religion or their culture. People relate to each other in many different ways. Nobel Prize winner Amartya Sen calls the plurality of human identity being diversely different, which means that people are different in many diverse ways. Indeed, forcing people into boxes of singular identity makes the world inflammable, because identity then takes on an either-or form, which can subsequently lead to an us versus them outlook. In any case, it is a fact that borders are blurred by globalization, and that migration makes cultures and religions melt and mingle. An example is an established mosque in Amsterdam. Here, the imam preaches in Dutch, women and men pray in the same room side by side, and a non-Muslim is a member of the board. Of course, there is no sense in denying or disguising tensions and disagreements between different religions where they exist. In fact, I believe it is far more useful to acknowledge them and to ask ourselves how we should deal with them. How can we bridge our differences and find common ground? Mutual understanding, peace, and tolerance are central to all of the world's religions and to humanism. In the end, it is a simple choice. We can either regard the differences and contradictions between religions as their most important feature, or we can recognize that beyond the diversity, there is an essence that all religions share. I believe that human rights bind us together in this world. They transcend the differences between religions and beliefs. Human rights are universal. They apply to all people at all times and in all places. To Muslims and Christians, to Buddhists and Jews, to Hindus and to humanists. Every individual, irrespective of nationality, gender, race, or religion, is entitled to protection from the violation of his or her rights. While universally accepted rights are intended as a minimum standard, applicable at all times and in all places, they are under pressure in many countries. We often hear the argument that local customs or traditions, religious teachings or beliefs, are an acceptable reason not to enforce these rights. In my view, this is fundamentally wrong. Religion or culture may not be abused by governments or individuals as a justification for violence or for disregarding human rights. But neither should religion or culture be abused by citizens, especially if they have decided to go and live in another country, as an excuse for non-compliance with democratically adopted rules or national customs. These are complex questions. Where your freedom begins, mine may end. Hence the need to insist on universality of human rights and the minimum standard they provide, and hence the need for dialogue like today's. In a world defined by pluralism, the need for dialogue is greater than ever. Dialogue, by which I mean the exchange of ideas, experiences, and criticism, is a delicate process. It is also a demanding process. Two monologues do not make a dialogue. They make a dialogue for the deaf. A true dialogue requires effort, commitment, and a genuine interest in the other. It is aimed at gaining understanding and acceptance in spite of differences of opinion and conviction. Dialogue is one of the most effective weapons in the struggle against ignorance, prejudice, intolerance, and fanaticism. A genuine dialogue must be open to other people's views. The aim of interfaith dialogue is to explore our common ground and build upon it. Once we have built these bridges of understanding, it will be easier to explore the points of difference. For any interfaith dialogue to be meaningful, respect for religious diversity and agreeing to disagree are essential. Allow me to say 3 more things about interfaith dialogue. First of all, it is important to realize that religions or cultures don't enter into dialogue. People do. Governments can support dialogue, both morally and financially, but in the end, it is up to individual people to engage in it. On the streets, in schools, at the market, in their respective houses of worship, on the football field, and wherever they can. Second, people who are not affiliated to any religion should not be excluded from the interfaith dialogue. A dialogue in which only religious representatives participate does not reflect today's plural and diverse society. People are defined by more than their religious identity. They are diverse diversities, in the words of Sen. Third, although it is important to strive for dialogue between people of different cultural and religious backgrounds, we also have a responsibility to foster debate amongst people with the same cultural or religious heritage, with a view of promoting tolerance in matters relating to religion or belief. And we should discourage those who fall victim to misinterpretation and are tempted to misuse cultural and religious values to support or use violence. Together, we must counterbalance those forces that seek to undermine religious tolerance and human rights. In current international affairs and in our communities, it is crucial to promote a consensus on universality of human rights. Let us devote ourselves to a global society of tolerance based on universal human rights, respect for diversity, self-criticism, and a permanent and demanding dialogue governed by mutual respect, exactly as Islam teaches us. Let us not look at differences as unbridgeable divides, separating us and them. Instead, we should join forces to create a global society in which the search for greater unity goes hand in hand with a respect for diversity. We need to invest in a world where us and them can become we, united in respect for diversity. According to an old saying, we reap what we sow. If we wish to reap a harvest of tolerance and mutual respect, then we must start today. Let's make sure that we are sowing seeds of tolerance and mutual respect in our schools and religious institutions. And so, as we come together to celebrate our diversity and build relationships of peace and love across all that might divide us, I am reminded of the teachings of the Quran in Islam that can help guide us along the path. For Muslims, concern with equality in diversity is not a new issue. In his last sermon, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, stated emphatically, all humankind is from Adam and Eve. An Arab has no superiority over a non-Arab, nor a non-Arab has any superiority over an Arab. A white has no superiority over a black, nor a black has any superiority over white, except by piety and good action. The Quran, which we believe to be God's definitive word to humankind, sees diversity as positive, as part of God's plan. It represents God as saying, O humankind, we have created you male and female, and appointed you races and tribes, that you may know one another. Diversity, in fact, is the sign that leads us to God. And among his signs is the creation of the heavens and the earth, and the variations in your languages and your colors. Verily, in that are signs for those who know. That these are not merely empty words for the Muslim community is shown by the Constitution of Medina. drawn up by Muhammad, peace be upon him, for the world's first Muslim polity. The Constitution explicitly guarantees the right of non-Muslims to practice their religion freely and to govern themselves according to the laws of their faith. This continues to be the mainstream view of Muslims down to the present day. Despite the un-Islamic intolerance of ISIS and other extremist groups, a recent Pew Research poll of Muslims worldwide found that an overwhelming majority believed it a good thing that non-Muslims in their countries could worship freely. The vision of Islam is an inclusive vision, calling for respect for human diversity. I'd like to finish with a quote by a Buddhist philosopher, Tasiku Aikida. Let us extinguish the flames of hatred with a flood of dialogue. I wish you much inspiration this evening and going forward as we engage in genuine, productive dialogue. Thank you. Allahumma salli ala.
Thank you so much, Sister Nargis. That was a very, very beautiful speech. Now we are going to welcome our brother Zishan Chana. He's going to read a nasheed or a poem. He's an 11th grader and a Jafari Islamic School alumnus. So we welcome our brother.
Salawat alaikum. Bedtime has come once again for us to fast every day, to perfect our self-keeping away from most sin. The moon has been sighted. The moon has been sighted. Let's welcome Ramadan, a gift from Allah to us, month of Ramadan. A gift from Allah to us, month of Ramadan. Come brothers and sisters, come brothers and sisters, gather rewards in this month. Come brothers and sisters. Deen ki shan hai Mah-e Ramzan. Deen ki shan hai Mah-e Ramzan. Aao rozadaro, aao rozadaro, aao Quran padhein, aao rozadaro. जिसको देखो इबादत में मशगूल है, ये अज़ल से मुसलमान का मामूल है. इस महीने का करते हैं सब एहतराम. A gift from Allah to us, month of Ramadan. A gift from Allah to us, month of Ramadan. Come brothers and sisters, come brothers and sisters, gather rewards in this month. Come brothers and sisters. This month is a blessing from Allah. Let's us purify our souls and read dua. Let's us purify our souls and read dua that we have learned from our Imam. Deen ki shan hai Mah-e Ramzan. Deen ki shan hai Mah-e Ramzan. Aao rozadaro, आओ रोज़ादारो, आओ कुरान पढ़ें, आओ रोज़ादारो. इस महीने में कुरान नाजिल हुआ, किस महीने को रुतबा ये हासिल हुआ. इस महीने का इज़्ज़त पे मेरा सलाम. A gift from Allah to us, month of Ramadan. A gift from Allah to us, month of Ramadan. Come brothers and sisters, come brothers and sisters, gather rewards in this month. Come brothers and sisters. Salawat.
Thank you so much, brother. Now we are going to welcome Sheikh Jafar Ladaq and the prophetic model for cooperations between faiths. Sheikh Jafar is a renowned scholar of the Islamic faith. He was born and raised in Milton Keynes, UK. His business includes supplying doctors to the NHS in the UK. After returning from Hajj in 2005, he began his Islamic studies. He has studied in the city of Karbala, Iraq, and Al-Mahdi Institute in Birmingham, UK. He has authored 2 books, The Hidden Treasure in 2011 and The Ways of the Righteous in 2015, with 2 more being edited for publication at present, and is author of multiple articles and research presentations. Previously resident alim or priest of Haider Islamic Center, London, and he is completing his master's degree in Islamic law at the Islamic College in London and continuing his studies in Iraq. So we welcome Sheikh Jafar Ladaq.
I begin in the name of God, the most kind, the most merciful. I begin by sending salutations and blessings upon all the prophets, from Adam to Abraham, to Moses, to Jesus, to Muhammad, and to all of the prophets from the beginning to the end. Firstly, I would like to welcome all of our guests on behalf of the community, and thank you for taking time today to come and join us in our participation of the blessed month of Ramadan. I want to divide my discussion into 3 parts very briefly. The first is for us to remind ourselves about the month of Ramadan, what it means to Muslims, and why we practice this particular month. The second is for us to mention about the practices of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him and all of the prophets. And thirdly, to look at something about the Prophet Joseph and the way in which he interacted with his brothers, which would allow us to be able to bring together all the different faiths together. The first thing is that the Quran says, كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامِ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. God has prescribed upon you fasting just as He prescribed upon the previous faiths fasting for the purpose of achieving God consciousness and piety. The idea here is that God being one in His absolute unity throughout the revelations that He has given to His people, to humankind, share in the concepts of worship, share in the concepts of discipline, and share in the concepts of mutual growth and participation. The fact that fasting has been prescribed to all faiths shows us that when it comes to the servitude of God, we are not disunited, but rather we are united in the way in which we can do those things. Many of us sometimes think that my religion is kept to myself, your religion's practices are kept to yourself, and therefore there are no real points of unity for us. But rather, the fact that God Himself is one shows to us that our practices of worship and servitude and thanks to Him are actually profoundly similar, and allows us to come together on those practices. And so I know many of you have come here and fasted yourselves. I know you will all be breaking bread with us this evening. So this is an opportunity for us to be able to practice those kinds of worships together. So thank you very much for that. The second element is to think about the way in which the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him and his family and the prophets, participated in building unity of faith together, especially in the city of Medina. Now you heard very beautifully in the speech before me that the prophetic model was built around a constitution. And I humbly recommend all of us, if you have a chance tonight, tomorrow, to go home and just Google that document, the Constitution of Medina, whereby this is the first ever documented, or the first ever known recorded document that brought all faiths together in order to build a system of unity in one particular city or in one particular state. For example, the Holy Prophet of Islam stated to the various faiths, and there were four main faiths within the city of Medina. There were the Judaic community, the Christian community, the Sabians and the Zoroastrians, and of course there were various sects from within them. The Prophet places as part of the constitution a number of different rules as to how the faiths should be interacting amongst each other. The very first point of the document is the following. It states that all those faiths that participate in this constitution, they are not considered outside of the Muslim ummah meaning the Muslim nation. They are considered part and parcel of the Muslim community, meaning there is no separation. There is not this idea that I am me separated from you. In the city of Medina, every faith was as valuable as the other, and without their mutual cooperation and existence, there could not be a Muslim community. This was the way of thinking 1400 years ago in Arabia. And it should be that Muslims understand this and are able to offer this as the platform by which Muslims and all faiths are able to come together as a community. Not that we are separated from each other and only incidentally end up meeting and end up participating in such programs, but rather the community at large could not work unless all faiths came together for the benefit of each other. Thirdly, the story of Joseph is something that unites all of us. We all know the story of Joseph, and in our various different texts and religious sources, we all know about the story of Joseph. He is mentioned both in the Quran and both in Genesis. And I want to mention a verse that is very similar between the book of Genesis and the Quran. So, for example, in Genesis 42:8, it is stated, although Joseph recognized his brothers, they did not recognize him. Now this is mentioned similarly in the Quran in chapter number 12, Surah Yusuf. Yusuf is the name, the Arabic name, the Arabicized name for Joseph. In verse number 58, the Quran mentions, وَجَاءَ إِخْوَةٌ يُوسُفَ فَادْخُلُوا عَلَيْهِ فَعَرَفُهُمْ وَهُمْ لَهُ مُنْكِرُونَ. And the brothers of Joseph came and entered unto him. Then he knew them, but they did not recognize him. This is such a beautiful verse and makes us think about the interaction that we have amongst each other. As you know, in the story of Joseph, there were the 7 years of droughts and the years of famine. The prophet Jacob, Ya'qub, sends his sons, except Benjamin, to go towards Egypt from Palestine in order to gather food. As they arrive towards the court of Joseph, the names are recorded and presented to Joseph in order to distribute the food to them. As soon as he sees the names of his brothers, he recognizes his brothers have come from Palestine, and he calls them into his court. As they enter, he, Joseph, recognizes his brothers, but his brothers, all of them, did not recognize him. 30 or 40 years had passed since that period of time. Now think about it from this perspective. If, as per point 1, we all share in basic forms of worship of one God, point to that the Muslim community is not complete without the other faiths working with it mutually for each other's benefit. Number 3, do we recognize each other the way in which Joseph recognized his brothers? Or am I like the brothers of Joseph who didn't recognize one of his own? If the whole of the Muslim community can only be flourishing based on the mutual work, cooperation, learning from other faiths, then it requires the Muslim to recognize the brothers from the rest of the faiths in order to be able to achieve that. And the story of Joseph demands that question from all of us. When we see each other in society, as you just heard, do we only recognize the very superficial identities and place each other in boxes? Do we separate ourselves and label you this and label you that, and therefore not being able to find some way of cooperation? Or do we find ourselves having a human identity that pushes everything else behind that and allows us to cooperate, love and work for the sake of cohesion and the development of humanity amongst each other? The story of Joseph demands us to think about that I can see someone, but I don't even recognize the reality of who they are. Either I can be like Joseph, who recognizes who those are in front of them, or I can be like the brothers of Joseph, who stands in front of someone so magnanimous and doesn't even see what is in front of them. This gathering this evening allows us to do all 3 points. It allows us to come together to worship God. It allows us to be able to realize that without each other, the community cannot become successful. And it allows us to reflect on the story of Joseph, that instead of looking at you and not finding something in you, not recognizing the reality of who you are, you and I get to recognize each other going forward. I hope this builds a foundation. Let us not just have this kind of conference, this kind of gathering once a year, but let us open our doors to each other so that we feel welcomed in each other's places of worship, welcomed in each other's houses, so that we can learn and benefit from each other. I hope this is the start of something, and God willing, we will see the fruits of that coming in the generations to come. Thank you very much for your time. Once again, we thank everyone for taking time out to come, and we look forward to learning from each other. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sheikh Jafar. Now we thank all of our brothers and sisters for coming out tonight and sharing this wonderful iftar with us. Tonight we celebrate the bonds of unity, bringing us all together across different faiths, cultures, and customs. The doors of unity have cracked open between us, and inshallah, God willing, will continue to open. Let us make of this day an opportunity for us all to come together as one family under one God, to praise Him and serve Him in serving one another. Once again, I thank the Interfaith Committee, Sister Nargis and Lubna. We thank the Tabaruk Committee, the school committee, the youth committee, and all the students and staff and all the speakers that allowed this beautiful interfaith to occur. After, we're going to have our wudu, which is the spiritual ablution and break. Wudu is the Islamic procedure for washing certain parts of the body. It's a type of ritual purification that Muslims should perform before the obligatory prayers and or touching the Holy Quran. After our wudu, while we make wudu, the guests have a break, and after it, we're going to have our Maghrib prayer, or the obligatory prayer. Before that, we're going to break the fast with dates and water. And finally, the adhan or call to prayer will be heard, and finally after our iftar or dinner. So now everyone can go and make wudu.
Kids.
Oh, sorry. Finally, we have our nasheed by the students of the Jafari Islamic School. Mohammed Faisal from the 13 and 17 class, Shafia Fatima from the 5 to 6 class, Sayyida Nur Naqvi from the 7 to 8 class, Zoha Tanvir Khan from the 7 to 8 class, and Ithar Al-Isa from the 7 to 8 class. They're going to perform a poem or nasheed too.
Sister, while we do that, Assalamu alaikum everybody. I would request our listeners brothers that their iftar time it is now. So there are some dates and water at the back if you want to break your fast, and inshallah join us for the rest of the program. So there are some dates and water.
Ramadan. We love you, oh Ramadan. We miss you, oh Ramadan. We love you, oh Ramadan. We miss you, oh Ramadan.
Ramadan is a month of mercy. Ramadan is a month of fasting. Ramadan is a month of giving and helping those in need. Ramadan is a month of the Quran, the month in which it first came down to Prophet Muhammad in year 610, a guide for all mankind.
For fasting, for giving, for praying, be patient, forgiving, and feeding. We love you, oh Ramadan.
Ramadan is a month of patience. Ramadan is a month of sacrifice. Ramadan is a month of praying in the mosque for Ahmad. Ramadan is such a fruitful month for gaining lots of hasanah. The devils are chained and Jahannam is off for all of Ramadan. We don't eat food.
No. We don't lose a temper. No.
We don't drink anything.
No.
We don't sleep all day.
No.
We read Quran.
Yes.
We pray a lot.
Yes.
We help the poor.
Yes.
Increase our faith. Yes. Ramadan. Ramadan, Ramadan, Ramadan. Ramadan, Ramadan, Ramadan. Ramadan, Ramadan, Ramadan. Ramadan, Ramadan, Ramadan. We love you, oh Ramadan. We miss you, oh Ramadan. We love you, oh Ramadan. We miss you, oh Ramadan. Ramadan, 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 Ramadan. Ramadan, 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 Ramadan.
Another loud salawat for our beautiful children. Allah. So now we're gonna go on break. Whoever has to go perform wudu can go now. And yeah. Thank you.